I thought I loved him, but soon I found myself trapped in a game where he used toys to break me, not love me. The man who made me feel alive. But what I didn't realize was that he didn't just want my love. He craved my pain, my submission, and control over me. The office was busy as Nwabisa walked to her desk. She was still thinking about the meeting she had earlier. Zolani, the boss, had been acting a little far away, but he kept looking at her, like he wanted to say something. Thabiso, her old friend, was a nice break. His big smile always made her feel happy. Just then, Thabiso stepped into her office, offering her a warm smile. "Nwabisa, are you free for coffee after the meeting? I brought you your favorite." Her heart fluttered at his familiarity, but before she could answer, she felt the weight of Zolani's gaze from across the room. The air thickened as she glanced at him. His posture, ever so controlled, now radiated a subtle, dangerous energy. He had been watching their exchange. Jealousy? The thought crossed her mind, but she pushed it aside. Thabiso continued, "We should catch up, talk about the new project, maybe grab a bite." Nwabisa smiled and nodded. The meeting dragged on longer than expected. The client's questions, more demanding than anticipated. Nwabisa tried to keep her focus on the charts in front of her, but she couldn't ignore Zolani's constant glances. Every time their eyes met, it felt like he was silently claiming her. Her chest tightened. She excused herself for a quick break, stepping into the hallway. There she found Thabiso leaning against the wall, waiting for her. "Got a minute?" he asked, his voice light and easy. She nodded, grateful for the chance to escape her thoughts. They stepped out onto the balcony, where the cool air was a welcome contrast to the stifling tension in the office. "You've been a little stressed lately," Thabiso said, looking at her with concern. "You deserve a break." Nwabisa smiled, appreciating the ease he brought into her life. "It's been a whirlwind lately, but yeah, I'm all right." Thabiso stepped closer, his presence calm but intense. "You know, Nwabisa, you've always had this quiet strength. I admire that about you." Her breath caught in her chest. She had always seen Thabiso as a friend, but now, with his words hanging in the air, something shifted. Before she could respond, a voice interrupted. "Nwabisa." Both of them turned to see Zolani standing at the door, his expression unreadable. Thabiso stepped back, offering a polite smile. "Just getting Nwabisa some fresh air. I'll leave you two to it." Zolani's eyes stayed locked on Nwabisa, dark and intense. "Are you enjoying the company of your friend?" Her pulse raced at his words. She swallowed hard and answered, "He's just a friend." Zolani's lips tightened into a thin line as he closed the space between them. "I know what's happening, Nwabisa. Don't lie to me." Her heart skipped a beat, confusion settling in. Zolani's jealousy was undeniable now, but what did it mean? She wasn't sure if she understood the depths of his feelings, but it was becoming clearer. He was territorial, and it was eating him up. Without warning, Zolani grabbed her wrist, pulling her close. His other hand cupped her chin, forcing her to look into his eyes. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You're making him think there's something more. And it drives me crazy." Her mind raced. Zolani was jealous. She had never seen this side of him. So raw, so vulnerable. Without thinking, her body moved on its own, and she kissed him. The kiss was urgent, full of desire, and all-consuming. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. "I don't know what this means, Zolani," she said, her voice trembling. He didn't respond immediately. His eyes softened for a moment, but the intensity remained. "I don't either," The days following the kiss were a blur. Nwabisa couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between her and Zolani. Every glance, every brush of his fingers sent a shock of heat through her body. The attraction between them was undeniable, but so was the confusion that clouded her mind. She couldn't ignore Thabiso either. His easygoing presence made her feel grounded, but there was a growing tension between them too. She hadn't expected to feel so drawn to both men, but she couldn't lie to herself. Zolani had ignited something in her that she couldn't ignore. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling meeting, she found herself walking to the coffee machine, trying to clear her head. As she filled her cup, she felt Zolani's presence before she even saw him. He appeared in the doorway, his sharp gaze scanning the room before settling on her. The familiar half-smirk tugged at his lips. "Can I join you for coffee?" he asked, his voice smooth and calm. Nwabisa nodded, but inside her pulse quickened. She couldn't ignore the charge in the air between them. "You seem distant today," he remarked, taking a step closer. His eyes were fixed on her, dark with something she couldn't quite decipher. "I'm fine," she said, trying to keep her tone casual. But Zolani wasn't convinced. "I saw you with Thabiso earlier. He's been following you around. You like the attention, don't you?" Her chest tightened. Zolani was angry, and his jealousy was undeniable now. Before she could respond, Thabiso walked in, his usual smile lighting up the room. "Everything okay here?" Zolani's eyes flicked over to Thabiso, his expression darkening. But he said nothing. Thabiso, oblivious to the tension, reached for his cup, brushing against Nwabisa's hand as he did. Zolani's gaze hardened immediately. His fists clenched, but he stayed silent, watching the exchange with a mix of frustration and desire. The air between them grew thick, and Nwabisa felt trapped between the two men. Later that afternoon, Zolani asked her to stay behind for a meeting. As they went through the details of the presentation, Zolani's focus never wavered from her. He was watching her closely, and the weight of his attention made her pulse race. "Are you done pretending, Nwabisa?" he asked, breaking the silence. She blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "You're good at pretending," he said, leaning forward. "Pretending like nothing happened between us. Pretending like you don't feel this." His eyes darkened, intense and possessive. "Whatever this is." Her heart raced, but she stayed silent. She couldn't deny it. There was something undeniable between them, but she was scared to give in. "I'm not pretending," she whispered. Zolani's expression softened for a moment, but his next words were sharp. "Then why are you pulling away?" Before she could respond, he stepped forward, taking her hands in his. His grip was firm, his eyes locking onto hers. "You can't run from this, Nwabisa." The air between them thickened as her heart raced. She knew he was right. She couldn't avoid this anymore. But as his touch burned into her skin, part of her still wanted to resist. The days that followed felt like an emotional whirlwind. Nwabisa couldn't stop thinking about Zolani's possessiveness, but something about it both scared and thrilled her. At the same time, she felt the weight of Thabiso's steady presence pulling at her, grounding her when she felt lost. That evening, Zolani sent her a simple text. "Come to me." Her heart skipped as she read the message. She knew exactly what he wanted, and she couldn't fight the pull. As she stood in front of his penthouse door, her body was alive with anticipation. She had never felt more alive. Zolani greeted her at the door, his eyes dark and full of desire. The moment she stepped inside, he closed the door behind her, the tension between them building immediately. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," he murmured, his voice low, almost dangerous, every second since that kiss. It's been killing me. Before she could respond, he closed the distance between them, his lips crashing against hers. The kiss was fierce, full of desperation. Every inch of her burned with need. When they pulled away, Zolani's voice was a low growl. "You're mine, Nwabisa. Do you understand that?" Her chest tightened. "I don't know what's happening." He smirked, his touch possessive and sure. "Let me show you." As the night unfolded, they were consumed by passion, desire, control, and longing. Every kiss, every touch was an unraveling of the barriers she had built around herself. The next morning, as Zolani stood over her, his presence overwhelming, Nwabisa realized that this was more than just lust. It was an emotional battle, one that had only just begun. The days following the passionate night in Zolani's penthouse felt like a dream to Nwabisa. As the days wore on, Nwabisa found herself changing. She no longer feared Zolani's presence. Instead, she craved it. The powerful dark energy he exuded had become a part of her. She couldn't escape the pull, and every time he touched her, she felt a deeper connection. She had fallen in love with him, or at least she thought she had. But love, as she had learned, could be a double-edged sword. It was late one evening when Zolani invited her to his penthouse again. She was familiar with the path leading there, now. But tonight felt different. There was a nervous excitement in her chest that she couldn't shake. She had come to realize that she was no longer just his toy or his distraction. She was falling for him, deeply, and the thought terrified her. When she arrived, Zolani was waiting for her at the door, just as he always was, dressed impeccably, his demeanor cool and collected. But there was something in his eyes, something that made Nwabisa's stomach twist with anticipation. "Come in," he said softly, opening the door. "We have much to talk about tonight." The words were simple, but they held a weight that made Nwabisa's heart race. As soon as she stepped inside, the door clicked shut behind her, and she was immediately enveloped in his presence, as if she couldn't escape it. He led her into his living room, a place she had come to know intimately in the past few weeks. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. His eyes burned with an intensity that made her feel like he could see into her soul. "I want you tonight, Nwabisa," he whispered, the words sending a shiver down her spine. "I want to take this further, completely." His words weren't new. They were the same things he had told her countless times before. But tonight, there was a deeper weight to them, a sense of finality. What Nwabisa didn't expect, however, was how Zolani's desires had evolved over time. She had seen glimpses of his power and control, and part of her had craved it. But tonight, the extreme nature of his desires would reveal a side of him that she couldn't have anticipated. As Zolani guided her to the bedroom, she couldn't help but feel that something was off. The air was thick with tension, but there was a sense of dread that hung in the room. Zolani's voice was quiet as he spoke, but his words made her feel uneasy. "Tonight is different, Nwabisa," he said, his hands gently trailing down her arms. "I want to show you just how much you belong to me." His tone was commanding, and for a split second, Nwabisa felt a flicker of uncertainty, but she ignored it, eager to embrace the intensity of their connection. But as they reached the bed, Zolani's actions shocked her in a way that sent an ice-cold shiver down her spine. He moved quickly, his motions forceful, his eyes never leaving hers as he began pulling out items from a nearby drawer. Toys. Nwabisa froze, her heart hammering in her chest as she realized what was happening. "Don't worry," he said, his voice low and almost velvety. I know what you like. Her body tensed in complete shock as Zolani's hands moved to her body, guiding her into a position she wasn't used to. It was clear now. This wasn't just passion. It was control. He wasn't just trying to pleasure her. He was trying to own her, break her down completely. Nwabisa's breath hitched. This wasn't what she had imagined. This wasn't the love and connection she had thought they were building. This wasn't about two people growing together. It was about Zolani's habit, his need to dominate his partners, to use toys and manipulation to get what he wanted. The realization hit her like a slap in the face. This was not love. This was something darker, more dangerous. "Zolani, no," she gasped, her voice trembling. "I can't. I don't want this." Zolani paused, looking at her with unreadable eyes. For a moment, there was a flicker of something. Regret? It was fleeting, but it was enough to make her feel something other than fear. But then his expression hardened again. "You think you can just walk away?" His voice was low, dark, a tone she hadn't heard before. He stepped closer, his hand on her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. "You don't get to leave, Nwabisa. You are mine now." Her heart raced, panic rising in her chest. This wasn't her choice anymore. She had lost control, and the part of her that had trusted Zolani was now shattered. The dangerous obsession in his eyes made her realize the depth of his power over her, and how trapped she was in this situation. "I'm not your possession," she whispered, her voice shaking with fear and anger. "This is not love, Zolani. This is control." The silence between them stretched on for a moment, and for the first time, Nwabisa saw something other than desire in his eyes. Regret, maybe, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. Zolani took a step back, running a hand through his hair. He seemed conflicted, like the man who had been so sure of himself was now questioning everything. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. "I never meant to hurt you," he said, his voice quieter, almost broken. But the intensity in his eyes didn't fade. "But you need to understand, Nwabisa. I don't know how to love without control. This is how I've always been." Nwabisa pulled herself together, standing up from the bed and stepping back. The shock still lingered, but there was a new feeling inside her. Anger. "I'm leaving," she said, her voice strong, despite the fear in her chest. "This isn't love. This is a game to you." Zolani didn't try to stop her this time. He stood there, silently watching her. His eyes were filled with something she couldn't name. Regret, perhaps. Or maybe a realization of how far he had gone. But for Nwabisa, it didn't matter anymore. The man she had fallen for, the man who had made her feel alive, was nothing more than a controlling, toxic force in her life now. She left his penthouse without looking back. If you were in Nwabisa's shoes, would you walk away from someone who controls and manipulates your emotions? Or would you give in to the intense passion? Would you fight for love? Or would you choose your own freedom? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a decision that could change your entire life.